Hey everyone, Matt Abel here, registered dietitian with Bariendo, here to take you through a quick little tutorial on kitchen knife skills. Now, it's the case that after bariatric surgery, you're probably going to be doing a little bit more of your own cooking at home for a multitude of reasons. One, you want to make sure that you're preparing foods to the consistency that works best for you. You also want autonomy over the kinds of ingredients that are going into the dishes that ultimately you're going to be eating. What I want to go through today, since you're going to be doing a little bit more cooking, is how to do so as safely and effectively as possible. So we're going to be talking a little bit through knife skills. Before we even get chopping here, there are a couple basics that we want to go through. First and foremost is how you're going to be holding a knife. Really quickly, the easiest way to think about it is you're going to be really shaking hands with the handle of the knife, as you can see here overhead. You're really going to be taking just those 3 fingers underneath, forming a grip as you normally would for a handshake. To finish it, you're really just going to be pinching the part of the blade that's called the holt. It really gives you good control over the knife. Keeps your fingers nice and safe. Now, before we even get chopping, we want to make sure that your blade is nice and sharp. A safe blade is a sharp blade. If your blade is too dull, you're likely putting too much pressure on it, increasing the chance that it could slip off of whatever you're cutting and may wind up with a little bit less skin on your fingers than you started this recipe with. So I'm going to get my recipe going here and my chopping going just by sharpening my blade here. All right. If you're looking for something to sharpen your blade, there's a bunch of tools out there. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to know where I got my sharpener from, available on Amazon. So the ingredients that I'm going to be chopping for you here today, you're going to be using a lot. I'm going to be preparing some garlic, onions, as well as bell pepper to go into the chili recipe that I'm going to be preparing in another video. But you're going to find that the more you cook, you're really going to be using a lot of the same ingredients. So you want to become familiar with how to prepare them both safely and effectively. The first one I'm going to go through is bell pepper here. Bell pepper, there's a bunch of different ways that you can cut it. I like to cut from the top to get a bunch of big sections, flipping them over and then cutting them from flesh side inside. You'll see exactly what I mean here. The way we're going to be gripping all of the ingredients that we're going to be preparing with is going to be really specific, and I'll show you what I mean here. You're really going to be wanting to take a bear claw to pretty much everything you're going to be cutting, because there's a specific part of your non-cutting hand that we're going to be using, and that's going to be the flat part of the knuckle right here. We're going to be using that as a guide pretty much every time we cut. You'll notice that my fingers here are tucked in under, keeping them out of harm's way, and also providing a nice guide that my blade can go up and down against. So you're gonna see that grip in everything that I cut for you guys today, starting with this bell pepper here. So just like I said, we're gonna be starting overhead, cutting out a bunch of just flat sections here, avoiding the seeds and stem. It really makes cleanup that much nicer for you. This bottom part we can certainly use, and voila. I've got 4, 5 little sections here that I can use. When you're preparing bell pepper, it's important to take out these ribs here. They're sort of dull and tasteless and add an odd consistency. So to get those out here, you just want to use the tip of your blade under there very nicely to get that out. Okay. So whether it's a chop, a dice, or a mince for your bell pepper, you're pretty much going to be doing it the same thing. The finer the cut, the finer your initial cut is going to be. The recipe I'm using here calls for a chopped pepper. So I'm just going to be working it down in maybe 1/2 inch little increments here. Again, notice how I'm holding the bell pepper. All right, so I've got all of those lined up here. Have them in a nice little pile. I'm going to be gripping and then working down again just to a nice little chop for a cube. And there you go, easy as pie. Now for onions, it's going to be a little bit different with onions. Because they're already layered, we can use them. There's a couple of different ways to cut onions. You'll see in cooking shows and live demonstrations, people do it a few different ways. This is the way that I was taught to do it, at least I think, and it's been working for me, but feel free to adopt any of those other methods that you see here. I typically work in 1/2 onion increments. I'm going to be cutting up till about 1/2 point, flipping and then cutting down, using that natural layering that exists in an onion to my advantage here. So as I said, I'm just going to be making a couple of quick cuts here. Again, watch my fingers and what's happening there. Gonna take that half out. Gonna grip, again, keeping my fingers in a nice safe position here, and then working down. This is to a chopped or diced fineness. You can get it to mince by doing a little bit quicker or a little bit finer than that, but that's what you want to look for there in a chop. And then lastly, garlic. This is something that you're probably going to be using a lot in a lot of your recipes. I like to do it in a way that works best for me. Ultimately, a lot in the kitchen, you just got to find what works for you. I'm going to chop down, kind of like how you see in the cooking shows, just and then I'm going to flip and use another method that I like to call the tunnel and train. So again, gripping this nice and safe, keeping my fingers out of harm's way. Going to use my border of my fingers there, just going up and down really quickly here. All right, just gonna flip that now, and then go down again here with a fine chop there. Okay, work's not done. I'm going to finish this off with the tunnel and train method. When you really want to get something nice and finely diced, or minced, I should say, as garlic tends to want to be in a lot of recipes. Simply put, tunnel and train. Going to create a tunnel, with my non-cutting hand. Knife's going to be the train. Tunnel over the train, and we're just going to work, keeping that top point connected with our cutting board at all times, and just working back and forth here. You can do slow, work up to comfortable. And there we have it. We have our minced garlic, our chopped onion, and our bell pepper all done in just a couple of minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed.